Right. So these are the major key responsibilities being a guideware testing as a QA tester or a functional tester. We must be good with. These are the major key responsibilities that we need to perform. Okay. On a high level note, I am just giving it. So one about the test case development and execution. This is one of the key responsibility being a guideware tester we must be good with. Second, about the PNC functional testing, that is even important, including any integration testing, data validations, defect managements, right? So collaborations, automation support, these are the key responsibilities. The first one about the test case development and execution, because whenever a business analyst has given us the requirements, from a testing perspective, we need to analyze the business specifications. Either it can be the functional, non-functional related, or any features that we have identified for any policy management. So we need to analyze the business specification. Sometimes when we follow the traditional way of approach, we get business requirement documents, all that. When we follow the agile environment and all, we write user stories. That is where the difference that you will be finding over here. So once we have analyzed these specifications, we have to create, maintain, and as well as execute the detailed test scenarios. So for that, we have test case templates which are readily available in the organization level. Generally, we use for traditional way of approach. We can do that. Or else here, so we are using different tools. Like for example, we are using one tool called Jiffer Scale. Jiffer Scale is one of the tool we are using, especially in the agile when we are working on the Jira, etc. So Jiffer Scale is a tool we are using. So Jiffer Scale tool can be used to create some test cases, etc. Everything for whichever the module that we are working on. Because end of the day, being a guideware tester, we must be proficient enough in the functional flow. Either it can be policy. We must be aware about the policy flow process, creations, cancellations, updations, reinstatements, all that. When you talk about the billing part, so we must be well versed with billing, right? Agency billing, premium billing, all these. When it comes to the claim point of view, right? So we must be having the detailed flow process knowledge over the claim submissions, claim adjudications, claim settlements, etc. Apart from the functional flow, so one should be good in creating some test scenarios, creating some test cases, right? Test scripts for any policy billing and claim module is required. That is point number one. Second, PNC functional testing, because being a guideware functional testing role that we see, we must be validating the end-to-end policy lifecycle. Just now I told you, right? So how, when we created a policy submission, we have created, right? So we want to create policy submissions or any cancellations, right? So that end-to-end validation of the policy lifecycle is required. So functional testing, wherein UI functionalities, we have behavioral driven development like BDD tools we have, right? So Cucumber, all that, right? So those we have, so that which majorly details about the functionality of it, including either it can be quotations or binding, because once customer quotation has given, if customer has binded, from there onwards we go to the billing. So once billing is completed, so that policy document will be shared to the customer. So the binding part, at the same time, endorsements, any kind of changes, etc., endorsements, cancellations, renewals, this functional testing we must be good with. The third, insurance now, integration testing, as I told you, right? So because whatever the API testing we use, right? So we are using Postman API. That is one thing we are using for integration. Postman API is we are using. Right, so we are using Postman API. So for integration testing, we are using. Right, so Postman API can be used for integration testing, right? So either with the policy center, with any external systems, or any, let's say you want to connect with any ERP systems or CRM systems, or we want to connect with any underwriting systems, or any external billing systems in the organization we are using. For that, API testing is important. Postman is widely used across industry. Even in Guidewire also we are using. policy center, any policy administration, underwriting, any payment gateway systems we have. So for that also we must be. So integration testing is even important. Next, how to validate the data. Generally, we use SQL, which is to validate the queries and all. We must be proficient enough over the SQL queries. Basic of SQL queries always important now and then, even though we are into the functional side of it, but we must be proficient enough to use SQL to validate. So the data part, right? Either for the front end as well as the back end databases and all that. We must at least to know about some SQL basics, SQL queries, etc. That is even important. For data validation purpose, yes, it is required. Next, defect management, because we want to log the defects in Jira, because Jira is required. So as I already told you, Jira, we can use it. Jira as a project tracking tool and all. So Jira can be used, right? So we can use Jira also, right? So to track them, right? So to close them, right? So to identify the root cause analysis along with the business analyst role, we can perform this. So we can identify this. Or else some organizations have their own application lifecycle management tools, ALM tools we have, because they'll be doing the requirement traceability matrix, etc. Everything they are creating there, this defect management can be used. Next, agile scrum collaboration, that is even important, because now and then we are working on the agile environment wherein we must be knowing about how to participate in the sprint planning. Different scrum ceremonies we have. Sprint planning, where when we have written the user stories by the BA, so that will be moved on to the product backlog. From there, sprint planning will be initiated. So we should participate in sprint planning, right? So at the same time, daily standards, reviews and all, along with development team and business analysts, so that we will be knowing well in advance. So what requirements customer has, right? So what requirements we have taken, what are all the testable requirements that we have taken, everything we will be knowing when we are involving in agile scrum collaboration. Apart from scrum, we were using even Kanban, because when we are taking scrum, the major fundamental difference is when we follow scrum, we write user stories and we maintain product backlog, sprints, etc. When we follow Kanban, we don't write user stories, we directly write tasks and all. That's how generally the difference was. Next, automation support, like different tools, like we are using Selenium now and then for a very long time, of course, matter of the fact, right? So some companies, they were using other tools also. They have their own tools and some additional tools such as like Tosca and some frameworks like Karate framework, right? So these are all becoming required for some projects. I don't say that for every project. The project to projects, as far as automation testing tools are concerned, some have some slight variation, because all these put together is called GT framework. Guidewire testing framework is all about. This is something from my Guidewire testing point of view, from the functional testing point of view, being a tester, the key responsibilities are this we must be good with.